One Morning in Maine, Part 2. While Sal put on her socks and shoes, her father packed seaweed around the clams to keep them moist and fresh. "Now let's hurry back to the house," he said, "and in a few minutes we'll be on our way to Bucks Harbor in the boat to get milk and groceries." "Okay," Sal answered, scrambling to her feet. She gave one last look at the muddy place where she'd lost her tooth, and then started walking back along the shore with her father. She walked along slowly, looking at her feet so that her father could not see her face in case it looked almost like crying. "Oh, see what I found!" she exclaimed, stooping to pick up a feather. "It's a gull's feathers," said her father, pausing for Sal to pick it up. "Did a gull lose it? Will another feather grow in where this one dropped out?" asked Sal. "Yes, Sal, that's right," answered her father. "Maybe seagulls put dropped out feathers under their pillows and wish secret wishes," Sal suggested. "Seagulls don't use pillows, but I suppose they can make wishes," her father said. "Then I'll make my wish on this feather," Sal decided. "Perhaps the seagull has already made a wish on that feather and the wish is used up," suggested her father. "Oh no," Sal said definitely. "He didn't, you see. I guess because he was too busy flying and not looking back. He didn't notice it was loose when he brushed his feathers this morning, so he didn't expect it would drop out. He doesn't even know it's gone," she convinced herself. She closed her eyes tight and wished her secret wish. When they reached home, Sal's mother and sister Jane were waiting with a box of empty milk bottles to return to the store and a list of things to buy. "I'll have a nice clam chowder ready for your lunch when you get back," said Sal's mother, waving goodbye. "I'll take good care of Jane," Sal promised. "I'm a big girl and I can watch so she doesn't tumble into the water." Sal and Jane and their father went down to the shore and got aboard their boat. Sal and Jane put on their life preservers while their father prepared to start the outboard motor. He pulled and he pulled on the rope to start, but the outboard motor just coughed and sputtered and wouldn't start. So he had to row the boat all the way across the bay to Bucks Harbor where the store was. The harbor was full of boats, and Sal's father rowed their boat among them up to a landing and tied it so it would not drift away while they were at the store. They all climbed ashore, and Sal's father brought along the milk bottles. He brought the outboard motor too, so Mr. Condon, who ran the garage, could fix it. As they came up the path to the village, Mr. Condon was outside his garage putting gas into a car. "I have a tooth out," Sal greeted, "and our outboard motor won't run." "My, such trouble," Mr. Condon commented, and after he admired the empty place where Sal's tooth was missing, they took the outboard motor into the garage to find why it wouldn't run. Mr. Condon pinched a little with his pliers, tunked a bit with his hammer, and then, after selecting a large wrench, he took out the spark plug. "Came right out, just like that tooth of yours, didn't it, Sal?" he said, holding it up to the light. He grunted, tossing it on the floor. "Needs a new plug." Sal was just about to ask how long it would take for a new spark plug to grow in when Mr. Condon reached up on the shelf and picked out a brand new one and put the spark plug in the motor. Sal picked up the old spark plug and handed it to Sister Jane. Jane was so little that she didn't understand about secret wishes. So Sal wished the secret wish for Jane on the spark plug. Mr. Condon pulled the rope and the motor started right up, just as good as new. Sal's father thanked him and picked up the motor and the milk bottles. Jane carried her spark plug, Sal carried her feather, and they said goodbye and walked across the street to where Mr. Condon's brother kept store. "Well, look who's here," said the Mr. Condon who kept store. "I have a tooth out," Sal shouted, returning Mr. Condon's greeting. She showed the empty place where her tooth had been, first to Mr. Condon, then to Mr. Ferd Clifford and Mr. Oscar Staples, who were sitting in the store talking about trapping lobsters and how the fish were biting. "Don't put your tongue in the empty place," Mr. Clifford advised, "and a nice shiny gold one like mine will grow in." "But I didn't know soon enough," said Sal, looking confused. "Ha," said Mr. Condon, chuckling. "Don't you go worrying about everything these jokers suggest. I don't suppose," he added, opening up his freezer, "that you could eat an ice cream cone with one of your teeth out." "Oh, yes, I could," said Sal, "and it's supposed to be chocolate." "And this little lady?" he questioned, turning to Jane. "Hers is supposed to be vanilla, so the drips won't spot. And you'd better push it together tight so it won't drop off," Sal dictated, "because she's still almost a baby and doesn't even have all her first teeth." After Mr. Condon had put the groceries and milk in the box, they thanked him once more and waved goodbye. They walked down the path to the harbor. And down the runway to the float where their boat was tied. They all climbed aboard, carrying the outboard motor, the box of milk and groceries, the feather, the spark plug, and the ice cream cones. While their father fastened the outboard motor to the boat, Sal and Jane finished their ice cream cones. "I want some more," Jane demanded. "Silly," exclaimed Sal, "our wishes are all used up." Then she remembered that she was growing up, and just like a grown-up, she said, "Besides, Jane, 2 ice cream cones would ruin your appetite. When we get home, we're going to have clam chowder for lunch." One Morning in Maine, Part 2.